So, here's what I want to do today. Like the, James Bond, your mission, should you choose to accept it, sort of thing. My mission is to have you, your mind's a bit blown at the end of today, okay? And we're going to see if we can do that in an hour. Maybe partially blown. All right.
All right.
So this is really triggered in response to some of the stuff that's been floating around in the past couple of meetings to do with things like reincarnation. I think it might be useful to get a deeper understanding about what embodiments actually are. Okay, what sorts of embodiments? Because there's a whole lot of ambiguity floating around in the metaphysical, new age, even religious realms to do with, your soul, your spirit, your carriage, your divine body, your this, your that, the other thing. And if we can't come to any sort of agreement on terminology, or at least you understanding what I mean when I say something, then it's going to lead to confusion. Okay, so you don't have to adopt these terms if you're more comfortable with something else, but at least you'll have a reference for what I mean. Fair?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Sounds good.
So I've got a mini ray of creation going on here. We're not going to start at the lower end of it, which is sublunar. Yeah, we've talked about that a couple times before. Not really going to worry about that. But we've got lunar, we've got planetary, we've got all planets, which I call fatal, because it has to do with your astrology, okay? The astrological influences that come in. So fatal, not as in the sense of deadly, but fatal is in the sense of it's has a fate-driven aspect to it, okay? Solar, galactic, universal, and divine, or absolute, or however you want to put it. And then I have some other words going next to these: viral, physical, astral, ethereal, animated, and spiritual. And those are all the embodiments. Now, probably the one that stands out most at this point in time is viral. Yeah. I want you to think about yourself from the standpoint of, instead of, I have an astral body, or perhaps I'm going to develop an astral body, or I have a mental body, or I will develop a mental body. I want you to look at yourself more like a continuum of embodiments, some of which you are conscious of and some of which you are not. Okay. So this whole, if I could draw a box around this diagram here, that's the you of you. All right. You have all of these parts within you. Okay. Now, what that means, just like, you stand here as a man or a lady, and you have a head, you have a chest, you have hips, legs, and so on, right? You have all of these aspects in you, including the divinity aspect, including the absolute aspect. It's not like you show up here on the planet and, the first thing to appear is your feet, and you spend a long time as just a pair of feet, right? And then eventually you grow to get hips, and eventually you grow to get a torso and a head. Yeah. It doesn't work that way. You show up complete. And the reason for that is because you are complete. What you're missing is the ability to connect to the intelligence of these various parts. Now, this happens in the physical realms as well, right? Can you stop at this very moment and know your heartbeat? It's very difficult. Some of you can, some of you can't. Some of you can stand there and know when it's beating. Some of you can't, right? What about hormones? Are you aware when your body releases a particular hormone, into your bloodstream? No. What about the ability to sense neurological impulses? Not touching your finger and having a sensation in your brain, but being able to sense that entire journey through the spine and up. Yeah? So you see, Just because you have parts of you that you're not necessarily aware of doesn't mean that they don't exist. Okay, so this is kind of one thing that I want to drive in. Now, who wants to take a stab at why lunar is viral? Anyone have a thought on that? This is a this morning revelation. Okay, so you're getting fresh food, not something from last week or 5 years ago. All right, Jeff.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it a go. So lunar affects the waters, and water is a medium of transport. So transportation, as it spreads out, right?
Yeah.
This definition of viral, it expands and it spreads over over some length of time, but it disseminates.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take that analogy. I like it. From a standpoint of things orbiting the planet, right? We consider basically asteroids, and at least when we're discussing, it just occurred to me that I should probably back up and make sure that you all have clarity on the standpoint that these are all encapsulating one another. Okay, the universe, we won't start at the divine, but the universe encapsulates all of the galaxies. Okay, it's all of them massed together. Underneath that is our solar system in particular, yeah, that is under the dominion and control of the galaxy and under the dominion and control of the universe in which it lives. All right. Underneath the solar system, you have all of the planets, which are in the under the dominion and control, or governance, order, and dominion, if you prefer that term, of our sun. And you see our planet is part of the Kepler belts of that system, which is part of the solar system, and so on and so forth. And anything trapped by our planet is lunar. Now, I'm going to share something really interesting with you. Did you know that if you go out into your backyard or front yard or whatever, anywhere actually in the world, and dust 1 square meter of dirt, okay, just dust, right? Dust 1 square meter into a bucket, and then take that bucket to a lab, you will have roughly 800 million viruses in there. Every day, all across the planet, all across the earth, roughly 800 million viruses rain down per square meter. They rain down on the planet per square meter. Think of how many square meters that is. And take take that times how many square meters are on the planet, and then multiply that by 800 million. And you'll get kind of a sense of something kind of incredible, right? As far as just the sheer number of those. Now, scientists generally, in 150 whatever years ago, thought viruses were basically only something that causes disease. But that's not true. They've done certain additional research, and they found that things like neuroneurology, the ability of your nervous system to communicate the way that it does, certain aspects of your ability to be consciously aware of yourself and your surroundings are linked back to viruses that got into the genome that eventually became human. Now that's staggering to me, okay, because it means that at every moment in time, there are 800 million opportunities a day for you to end up with a different genome. Okay. And not necessarily changing you, but changing the human design over long, long periods of time. You see, something in creation really wants change to take place. It wants these sort of interjections. Now and then, things don't go quite as planned, and we get something like Corona, right? Where it's taking people out. But we don't actually know what the long-term results of that are. You see, we don't know. So it begs the question, where do those come from? And the reason why I attribute them to lunar is because just above the clouds and just below the level that airplanes fly at, right? Jets around 30,000 feet or so. There is a band, and it's filled with nothing but viruses. And it's kicked up, right? Things die. They take their genetics up into the atmosphere when the wind blows. Some of it gets up in there, gets hit by certain types of radiation, cosmic radiation, breaks it up, reemerges with something else, eventually rains back down, and it just continues this process, right, of change. Now, you're aware of a virus if it makes you sick, but you're not aware of it upon entering you. And so there's a certain aspect to a virus which is subconscious for you. Yeah, you can feel the results of it, but you're not conscious of it. And so you can think in terms of, instead of the physical realms of things, you can think in terms of psychological realms, where ideas are subconscious, right? But they genetically engineer your thought processes. Do you see? They genetically engineer your way of expression, how you approach life, how you think about things. It's the same thing, right? As above, so below, all across the spectrum. One way of looking at this is that at a certain level in the ray of creation, right up there in that band that orbits the planet. Hello, kitty. In that band that orbits the planet, you live there, or at least your future does. Something unconscious in your experience as an entity lives there. That's a weird thought, right? That's one of your embodiments. You might be one of those little viruses up there, and 1 billion years from now, it gets into the genome that you incarnate into again, and that's you, right? You recognize it. Oh, wow, I have a bright light coming out of my thumb now, or you know what I mean? Like it's funny, right? But you don't know what evolution is going to do from a engineering standpoint. So you can think about yourself as this whole spectrum, this whole octave here. And somewhere out there above our planet is you, right? This little bit of DNA floating around, about 15,000 feet up, I guess. Here, we're aware of this one, aren't we? Yeah. Now, what's interesting about this is that evolution goes this way. Creation goes this way, as we've talked about. Evolution goes this way, you see. So those viruses raining down are affecting the physical bodies. What we do here physically is impacting our astral bodies. This is why I say you need a physical experience to be able to grow, right? Because what you do with this body, actually do with this body that is in part engineered by viruses, will impact your astral form, right? It adds something to it, just like a virus alters the DNA. This thing goes all the way up the chain. And that influences things that happen in your ethereal embodiment, which would be another way of saying that is the mental body. Okay, mental body is a bit abstract. I guess ethereal is too, but the whole realm in that department is abstract. We'll talk about what these realms mean. And in your animated self, everything is kind of filtering upward all the way to your spiritual aspect, your spiritual embodiment. So if you've wondered where your spirit is, that's it, right? It belongs to this universe. If you've wondered where your soul is, it's here, okay? It's astral. Another way of saying soul. So soul and spirit, that's what people say. You know, I've got the carriage, the horse, and the driver, yeah? But they forget about all of these other parts that belong in here. One way to think about it is like, you know, if you have a whip or some sort of thing that's moving like a tail, right? The bottom end of it is moving a lot, and the rooted end of it is hardly moving at all. Okay, it would be like this, where The spiritual aspect takes eons to develop, yeah? And get all the way down to this aspect here where viruses are combining and recombining and regenerating at an alarming rate up in our atmosphere, right? It's that whipping tail kind of movement. You see? So development isn't so much about I'm going to grow an astral body. I'm going to grow a mental body, right? I'm going to have sun level awareness. Well, actually, it is more about that. I won't say that. Let me retract that bit. But you're not really growing things. You're seeding things. Yeah. This seeds your appearance. The physical planetary aspect accumulates a bit of substance as it has a physical experience on a planet Earth or a planet like Earth, right? And that filters up and eventually seeds the astral content in you and so on and so forth. Did you know you had so many embodiments? Isn't it strange to think of yourself more like this? Because in this standpoint, you're really more of an entity, aren't you? You're entitized. An entitized aspect of this divine in there. And because this is the realm of being able to mix and marry and change in the crucible of development down in here, eventually that filters all the way back up to God, all the way back up to the divine aspect. Yeah. Kind of makes me feel like God thought, well, I can't change down or up here. Yeah. Gotta put myself out there, as they say. All right, I'm going to pause here, let you reflect or ask questions or comment if you need to. How are we doing on the mind's blown aspect of things? Getting there a little bit? Everyone's silent.
I think it's very inspiring, very entertaining, very enlightening. A few more other hyperbolic words come to mind.
Yeah.
I think those three are enough. So lots of food for thought.
So what is a personal development journey? Right? If it's not growing an astral body, you've already got one, really. If it's not growing a mental body, what is it? What is a personal development journey? It's a good question. I mean, we're all supposedly engaged in one, are we not?
I think it's depending on where you are, getting better at a very basic definition. Because you could say, yes, it's personal development is being more aware of and more in control of your astral body. But I don't even know if I have an astral body. So maybe getting better for me is to know that I have an astral body and connect with it.
There you go.
So
there you go. Ding, 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 ding. That's it. You're right. That's it. That's absolutely it. You, as a physical entity, will not have awareness, likely, of this lunar aspect. You can in part, but you can't have the kind of awareness that it has, like it. That would be going the wrong direction, you see. But having awareness here allows you to bring your experiences up. Now, when I said your physical reality, your physical life seeds the astral, what I mean is that the astral world itself, the astral light, is very much to do with emotions, okay? Everything that you feel, I don't mean sense, but everything that you feel, that you emote about, is impacting the germ that you take with you in your astral body. And by the way, for those that had asked or commented yesterday, I think it was, that they're not having much success with that exercise of casting that astral form out and having it go do something and come back. My teachers wanted me to drop this in for you, is that you are not feeling it enough. You're trying to do it mentally, okay? This is coming from them, not me. You're trying to imagine it instead of emoting it. It's an emotional thing, okay? That type of projection. quite literally, you can put any emotion you want to in it, but I don't think you would really want to do much more than something along the lines of passion or love as you do it. Yeah. Passion in the sense of, people use this term, don't they? Oh, I'm so passionate about this. And they are, right? That's their astral content. That's what an astral body is. Okay. You can create forms in the astral light all over the place just by emoting about it. When I was much younger, I would say 30 years ago or so, I I didn't really have a good sense of direction when I was younger. I think it's gotten better with age. But what I did know how to do was to leave astral markers for things. And so I could literally go on a bit of a journey and, like cones, right? If you want to, breadcrumbs, you can leave astral content in places. And if you can see astrally, make your way back from anywhere. Okay. You can do that, but you can't do it mentally. You have to emote about it. You have to, the feeling of, I don't want to be lost. You see, you can create astral forms all over the place. And whether you know it or not, you do it all the time. Every time you have a feeling, you're either creating a monster or an angel somewhere. Yeah. An emotion, I should say. Yeah, feeling is an ambiguous word. I will stop using it because in English, we use feeling to represent sensation as well as emotion. It's too ambiguous. Yeah, when you have an emotion about something.
So the astral body will not speak through sensation, physical sensation, is that right?
The astral body will speak through feelings, right? When you send that content out like
emotions.
that, I'm sorry, I should say emotions. Yes, you are correct. Yeah, right. Good catch. Yeah, it's good not to be ambiguous.
I wouldn't say it. So Kimberly, I would maybe with Pierce, I wouldn't put it as a negative. I wouldn't put it as a astral body does not communicate with sensing. Isn't how I would put it. Because
you're absolutely right. Yeah. Here's the thing, because anytime you do have an emotion, there is a physical sensation that that goes with it, right? If you're feeling joy, you're light, you're buoyant, you've got, your heartbeat is up, you're neurologically more vital. Yeah. If you're feeling, if you are experiencing the emotion of anger or of sadness, they all have different feelings. That's how it communicates with the physical body. When you send that thing out, right, your astral content out to go get something for you, it's not going to come back and go, okay, here's what I found, blah, 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 blah. It's not going to whisper to you like that. The mental will, it'll talk to you, it'll chat with you, but the one below that brings back feeling. Who's been to Egypt? Who's been to the Great Pyramids and whatnot? Okay, or some other sacred site that you can think of. Yeah. If you've been to some sort of sacred site and you captured a feeling, not God, it's hard to get away from that because it isn't quite an emotion, right? Feeling actually comes into you. Emotion goes out of you. I think that's the separator, isn't it?
Should we use, instead of feeling or emotion, should we use a more generic word such as maybe a beacon? It sends a beacon.
Perhaps, because there is a certain directionality about it, isn't there? I think that's probably why there's some ambiguity in the word feeling, is because that's a feeling, and so is something that comes into you from an emotional standpoint. But that's inbound, yeah. Outbound.
I mean, it's a beacon. It didn't necessarily. So the reason I'm saying it's a beacon, it's a signal. It's an intentional signal, and it's a signal that's always emitted, whether you are at a place to receive it and feel it or emote it or whatever other word you want to use it. It is there, and if you build that ability, build that body, then you will get that beacon. But
Yeah.
it's still there, whether you're, because you're saying it's still there, whether you can get it or not.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Molly, you shared your experience with that walk, yeah, many years ago.
Yes.
And it brought with it the everything astrally that came with your dealings with Leo at the time. And
Yeah.
so when you send that content out, that's what's going to trickle back down the line to you. It's going to come back to you and help you to connect with that. It may not whisper in your ear. Might give you imagery though. It does do that, okay? Emotion is very imagery based also. Who knows what it means to see astrally? Do you know what I'm talking about? Can anyone do it? It's different than seeing electrically. All right. Something probably to be worked into. It's very different than seeing electrically. Electrically has a ghostly appearance to it, if you will. Seeing astrally, you can actually get confused with something standing in front of an object, whether it's physical or not. All right. A little bit different sensation. Seeing astrally. Right. So the idea is being able to elevate, I guess, your awareness of these bits and pieces of these parts. Now, I gave you the example of how to send your astral content back and get something in return from it. By practicing that, you get a bit of an awareness of it. It's a good exercise to try to consciously maintain this idea throughout the day that you are carrying an astral form with you also. Very intriguing thing. You know, I just said, I just said that astral is very visual, very form based. Have you ever stopped and wondered why ghosts generally have clothes on? Right? Because you would think if it's just your astral body leaving at the time of your death, that you'd be naked. And that is the true form of it. Yeah, it's kind of an outline of your body, but naked. That's what your true astral form is. You can change it around. You want to know the mystery behind it? Yeah, these long flowing gowns, ooh, you know, top hats and walking sticks and whatnot.
Yeah.
Right? What? Yeah, it's always the ghost of Christmas past, you know,
Right.
dragging a chain around behind him and whatnot. Yeah, the reason why is because of the way the unseen worlds work. You spend your entire life developing a self-image. If you close your eyes and imagine yourself, you will have a certain self-image. For some of you, it might be young, right? Your self-image may not reflect what looks back at you in the mirror necessarily. Some of you will carry a self-image that is more elegant than what the physical body does. Yes. More composed, you see. And those are all the interrelationship between thoughts, how you think about yourself, and the astral content that ends up developing and forming around you. So, if you happen to end up a ghost for a time, you're probably not going to be naked. You're going to be carrying that thought form that shapes your astral body, that imagery around with you. Be even creepier, wouldn't it, for some of the ghosts if they showed up naked? Right. Okay. Where are we at? How are you all doing? Yeah. Where do you want to go from here? Is this interesting to you? Is this useful to you? It's actually possible to have awareness in all of these realms. It really is. tell you right now, it really is. Okay, let me retract that, because I can't get here yet. I try, but I can't get here yet. All right, or here, I do try. But here, yeah.
There's something about what I've heard regarding our sun, actually in our universe from the astrologers, is that there's photonic light now streaming onto our planet and upgrading everything, all living things.
Yeah, tons of it a day, actually.
Pardon?
Tons of it every day, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm really, I feel the enhancement in this sort of the sunlight when I watch the sun rise, when I just experience it streaming in my house and outside. There's a real, something very special with it, a real particularly exquisite energy that comes with that sunlight.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it feeds you in part. Yeah. Let's put this a different way. Did someone chime me? Need to
Oh,
speak?
I had a topic, but we can wait. I have a topic
Go
to
ahead.
discuss.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Sachin.
Okay, so my thought, this was something that came to mind when I was having a conversation with my cousin yesterday, and something that Pierce, you said, and then my and Kimberly's call with Jeff. The old Eminent way had a 5-year degree. I'm gonna call it 5-year degree for want of a different word, right? And then in our conversations, we've realized that it's getting better.
Yeah.
Right? It's getting better. So I'm okay with a 5-year degree personally. I'm gonna give it however long it takes. But we as a group here, maybe there should be a realization that everything is speeding up, and not just. I mean, we see everything speeding up in technology. I mean, you're a technology guy, so it's like everything is speeding up, and it feels like it's like a crescendo. It's like everything is speeding up. So what we are doing, this awareness probably is also speeding up. There are other ways. There's going to be hundreds of other ways, maybe, and they're all speeding up. And so, just an observation. Wanted to throw that out and see what everybody thought about that.
Yeah, the latest. See, there's this. There's a danger of feeling intimidated, isn't there, about how much there is? Right? I've already identified 32 levels of it. Right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't go 1, 2, 3 in about a week or whatever, 2 weeks, a month, whatever. Yeah, I'm not going to fix times on it. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Things are speeding up. And truth be told, the progress that I see you all make in just a couple of months of working in this style, not working with me, but in this style, is outstanding. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, couldn't happen 20 years ago. Couldn't happen this way 30 years ago. There's an interesting. You can look it up. I cannot recall the chemical reaction that it is, but someone about 20 years ago figured out how to do a particular type of chemical reaction that was so arduous and so difficult. I think he was trying to form some sort of weird crystal. Okay, so difficult. Now, fast forward 20 years later, right? I mean, scientists struggled to repeat it, to be able to try and do this experiment. A few of them succeeded, but it was, for the most time, it was a failure. Yeah. Now, 20 years later, this chemical can be generated in a lab by a high school student. I'm not kidding. This is a real scientific thing. It's somehow along the line, it got easier. It's not that the equipment's different. It's not that the reaction's different. You know, it's still a Bunsen burner and whatnot. Yeah. But for some reason, the print is now in the astral light that it can be done simply. And now it's simple, right? I'm not kidding. This is a real thing. I'll look it up. I'll find it. I read it about 5, 6, 7 years ago, so the reference is eluding me. But the point is, the speed up happens because more and more people do it. Yeah. When this iteration, this phase emerged roughly 50 years ago, it was like, trying to run through a swimming pool to get anywhere. Yeah. Now we're elevated. 10 years after that, it was like swimming through a swimming pool, perhaps underwater, right? Kind of underwater swimming. 10 years after that, it was like swimming on the surface of a swimming pool. And now you're running around the edge. Okay. If you like the analogy. So yes, I agree with you, Sachin. To me, this just... This is humbling for me, how this sits in me. And also, well, it's mixed. There's a humbling aspect to it, but there's also such a power and divinity in it as well. Yeah, to know that you're this, each and every one of you. And each and every one, person on the planet. Mahsad. Yes.
Yes, I have a question. I
Okay.
want to know at which stage we can find out how many lifetimes we lived.
Yeah. Well, here, really, once you have full awareness in this, you'll remember, you'll know, because you're going to be able to see the trace of you in the astral light itself. You won't know the reasons why, but this is where you'll at least gain some awareness of it. The knowing.
Thank you.
Do you understand why that's the case?
No.
Every life leaves a print in the astral light. Every person that's ever lived, because of the emotions that they feel, because of what they express, they leave a residue in the astral light. And if you're in tune with that residue, which your spirit that occupies another body, another life, would naturally be in tune with that. If you can have this kind of awareness, then you tuning fork to it. That's what that was. And the other thing too is that there's you can get to the point that you can tell if someone is just deluding themselves. Like, oh, I was king whatever in my last life. Yeah, you can, or even if they don't say that, right? There's a certain flavor that goes with it if you have the ability to detect. I won't say see astrally. I'll use it as detect astrally now. Because it's sort of like a round peg and a square hole. The children's game that develops hand-eye coordination, where they have to put the circle in the circle and the square in the square and the triangle. Yeah. Oftentimes what you'll get with people that are saying, I was such and such in my last life, is that astral vision of, no, you weren't. It doesn't fit. The triangle, you're trying to jam the triangle in the circle. Yeah. So it's interesting. But who cares, right? It's part of their journey to figure that out anyway. And honestly, it doesn't matter much when you're just trying to get this organized. Yeah, we talked about this a bit yesterday, didn't we? Please, ladies and gentlemen, live life to the fullest. That's what you're here for. All right? Don't shy away from anything that drives you, motivates you. Please go out and do it. Go get it. All right? Yeah. Huh? Kimberly, yes. Thank you. I can't see this far away, so Pleiades is telling me. Did you have a question?
I did. I was curious to just kind of get your perspective on the imprint and the impact that has on us, what its role is. I feel like it has the potential to serve as a foundation to for our own growth and evolution. But I also feel like it has the potential to diminish our experience. I don't think that's the right term, but
It can hold you down, though.
absolutely.
Yeah, it
Absolutely.
can. Yeah. Look out for deja vu. Okay. When you're feeling deja vu, look out for that. The reason why is because you're probably doing it the way you did it last time. We talk about this not from the standpoint of reincarnation, which is let's break that down for a moment, because it's important to understand the distinction. Okay. Recurrence. Think of a tree. All right. Recurrence. Every year, the leaves appear, the leaves fall off. The leaves appear, the leaves fall off. Okay. The leaf always serves the same function. It may not be on the same twig. All right. Analogies only ever go so far, but it always serves that function. Every now and again, a seed will take and develop a new tree. Okay. Recurrence is the leaves. A new tree is reincarnation. All right. That tree is a stunning thought, really, when you look at a seed and realize that contained within every single seed is endless forest upon forest upon forest upon forest. You know, all in that seed. You plant it, it drops a seed, grows a forest. All of those drop seeds, grow forests, and within each of those seeds is the ability to create a forest. Okay. So that's what I mean. That's an analogy of what I mean when I discuss recurrence versus reincarnation. When you get a sense of deja vu, it's because you're connecting to the same pattern in the astral light that you had the last time. Right? This is exactly how you did it last time. And you get this creepy feeling of like, oh my God, I know what's going to happen next. Or why does this feel so weird? Been here before, kind of thing. That's recurrence. At that point in time, please jump up and down 3 times, spin around, touch your nose, do anything and everything that you can to get out of it. All right. And get in a different track. But Kimberly, the way that it can help you, it's sort of natural the way that it helps you. Okay. We're talking about chemical reactions here. You don't actually get the same soul every time. There's a bucket of soul force in the planetary arrangement that we have here, a bucket. Okay. And the spirits stay the same. Every time a spirit wants to have a physical journey, it's the same one. Okay. It comes from up here because it's universal. You see, same one. That's the you of you of you of you. It drops into a body and someone goes, there's a little soul force. All right. And you have a journey. You have a physical journey. It leaves a print. It sort of scatters in the astral light. And because it's combining with that spirit each time, that's why you have those connections. Okay. Even from recurrence to recurrence, you don't have the same soul. You just have the same spirit. It's not even yours. It's just the soul is an ingredient that's necessary, just like having a body. You need a body, a soul, a spirit. You bake them together and you get a cake. Okay. Yeah. So yes, who raised their hand? I thought I heard a ding ding.
I did. I just wanted to kind of see if there's a way to sort of bring this together. I just took some notes, so I was just talking about it. Like, the question was, what is growth? And maybe aspects of growth. The first aspect of growth is understanding or even identifying these patterns. You're in this, you could say you're in this Kabbalah loop. You're this loop that always is going on. And the first aspect of growth is identifying there is a pattern. The second aspect of it is actually understanding it. The third aspect is figuring out if that's what you want or if you want to change. And the real mastery for that pattern is changing. And that's sort of, if you tie up to what you were talking about earlier about viruses coming down and changing, sort of ties it all together. It's like, hey, you can say you're growing if you can figure out what you want to grow with and actually figure out what you want to change, and then be be the one that instigates that change and makes that change and makes it happen. Because that's what you have to do to get to the final stage. And at that point, you're done, maybe. Until
until you get breathed back down again, right? To go get more.
Start it all over again. There's a circle.
Well, let's talk about this idea of survival of the fittest that comes into play, right? We said we talked a bit about viruses and how they can have either a positive or negative influence. And what survival of the fittest is, or at least the concept of it, are universal filters to only allow what's useful up the ray of creation. Okay, now we see this physically. We go, okay, right, that creature got a virus, that bird got a virus. It was genetically more susceptible to do so, and therefore it was unable to propagate, and the planet said, you know, your line has ended. Okay, this is what happens in survival of the fittest from a viral standpoint. However, if a virus gets into a gene that gives that bird some sort of biological advantage, then it survives. And so you see, what happens here is that you've got filters at every step in the ray of creation that lets only the best up. Yeah, forward the best, as it's been said. Forward the best up the ray of creation. That's the job. Yeah. If you're in the business of development, that's your primary purpose. And so we talk about things like, what kinds of attitudes would you like to bring back to God, for example? You know, would you like to bring pettiness back up there? What would you like to bring? If a king were coming over, you know, your doorbell rings, right? And someone says, you know, congratulations, you've been chosen to host the president or the king or whatever, you know, some dignitary. Would you, if you had the means to do otherwise, would you go to your cupboard or your pantry and get out some Spam and try to serve that? No, you wouldn't, right? You would forward the best. You would bring the best that you could. And that's the only job. That's what we're tasked to do. Yeah. Let's not bring Spam up the ray of creation. Hopefully your pantries don't even have Spam, if you know what Spam is. Yeah. Anyway. Jeffrey.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, you know, about the shortcut. So
The shortcut.
Right. So right, skipping the planetary, going the all worlds and going to solar.
Yeah. You're talking about the path of the esoteric. Is that right?
Yes, from what we touched on yesterday. I didn't weave that together. I'm just thinking of the Gurdjieff Fray and that human shortcut. But I guess it is.
We talked about the shortcut over here yesterday, didn't we? We talked about the occult nature, which is where you got to go get a little bit of everything, and the granite to quartz to topaz to diamond. Yeah, that's a shortcut, isn't it?
Right.
So the way that works is to be able to get, for example, animated connections here. If you get animated, what's useful in animated here, for example, okay, I'm just, don't take this literally. I'm not saying that that's the case, okay? But if you get a bunch of this content here at planetary level, then when you die, where's your weight going to go? The weight of you is animated, so you're just going to end up there. You don't need to drop off things here. Consider it this way. We talked about the filters, okay? And you know what these sieves, I think they're called, sieves are,
Sure.
right? Where you sort rocks out into various sizes, yeah? And they have these like screen meshes of various fineness going down. And at the bottom, you get powder and so on and so forth, okay? That central journey of skipping steps would be, for example, like pouring powdered sugar into the top of one of those sieves. Something that fine, right? It's not going to have to collect at level 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's just going to go straight through to its lowest level that it can, or highest in this regard. So that's how that works, yeah? And we do all kinds of works in that way, and you'll benefit greatly from it if you're engineered as an esoteric person. Yeah, because when we do works into the esoteric, we're not going here and then there and then here and then there. We're going straight for the highest we can reach at that point in time. Yeah. And there's also time for esoteric or for occult. Yeah. And the mystic doesn't have to be taught. All right. The reason why it just don't. One doesn't. It just doesn't work that way because it's a something forcing itself down this way. Molly, you likely don't need to be taught, for example.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But thank you. The comment. I guess you believe more in me than I do.
I do.
But thank you.
You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. I'm inclined to bring this to a close. I'm not sure how long we've been at it. I'm guessing around 50 or so minutes. Let's see. 52. Right. Not bad. Okay. Any final thoughts? Does this give you something to work with? Or is your mind at least partially blown in 52 minutes? Yeah. Don't worry about developing astral bodies and mental bodies and all this type of stuff. Worry about connecting to what you already are. It's much more important. Okay.
Yeah, great.
Ciao all. We'll see you next, some of you next Sunday. I'm sorry, Saturday. Some of you both days. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.